I don't know about you guys, but grocery prices are getting out of control.
$300 for broccoli and potatoes? This is nuts.
It's stupid, it's crazy, and so what we figured we'd do is Jacques and I are gonna give you our takes as gardeners of over 10 plus years on the crops we grow at home that actually will save you money compared to buying them at the grocery store.
To break this down fairly, we're going to look at it a few different ways. How much time does it take to grow the plant? How much effort does it take? And how much does it cost to get started?
And to figure out the costs of the actual groceries themselves, we went to prices for 5 different cities: Buffalo, New York, Cincinnati, Ohio, Houston, Texas, right here in San Diego, California, our hometown, and then Jacksonville, Florida. So with that said, Jacques, let's kick it off.
Some like it hot and some like it a little sweet. And this summer classic is actually pretty expensive, and you're looking at it right here. It is the bell pepper, ranging from anywhere from $3 to $4 a pound, or 80 cents up to $2 per pepper. This guy can really add up quickly at the grocery store, which is why it's a great one to grow at home because the seeds are really cheap. The plants don't really need that much once they're planted, maybe a stake, maybe a cage if you're feeling fancy. And you can even grow those peppers out to whatever maturity and color you want. A green bell pepper is a lot cheaper because it's harvested earlier. So if you want to literally grow some money, just let those green peppers turn red and you've doubled your money right there.
Whether it's black, blue, rasp, or straw, these berries will save you a boatload of cash if you grow them at home. In fact, I was at the grocery store just the other day and I paid $9 for a little tin of, I think, strawberries, and they weren't even organic. So we're talking 24 cents to 67 cents an ounce. And they usually come in those clamshells, and sometimes you buy it and then it's moldy the next day. But it's a little different as far as how each plant grows. I have a tower of strawberries right here, which to me is my personal favorite for home growing because number one, you can grow them in small spaces like this. Number two, they grow without a whole lot of issues, unlike something like blueberries, which needs an acidic soil and a lot more care. And they don't spread like crazy like a raspberry or blackberry might. So if you're looking to get started with a profitable home fruit, strawberries would be my pick. This spring, along with growing foods here in the garden that help reduce my grocery bill, I'm also prioritizing a different part of my health, gut health, which has been a problem for me in the past, which brings us to today's sponsor, Armor Colostrum. Armor Colostrum is a premium bovine colostrum concentrate packed with 400 plus bioactive nutrients, things like peptides, antibodies, whole food prebiotics, and antioxidants, all in their purest, most absorbable form. You can mix it with cool liquids or foods. Hot temps can mess with the nutrients, or you can dry scoop it straight into your mouth, which is actually great for your oral microbiome, dental health, and upper GI. I usually take it in the morning to start out, 1 or 2 scoops in cold water, just like that, super tasty. And then throughout the day, I'll throw another scoop or 2 in as a dry scoop just to up the amount of colostrum that I'm taking. Since colostrum is a whole food, you can take as much as you need or want, whenever it works for you, no need to space it out, and it's super easy to work into my routine. While I love the vine watermelon flavor, the new one that just dropped is the Sun Gold Apricot, and I've been absolutely loving it. They also have an Arctic chai and a performance product as well. Since I started taking Armor about 4 or 5 months ago now, I noticed that my gut discomfort has decreased significantly. Of course, this is my own experience, but when you've had gut issues for years, you will take any relief you can get from it. I take it regularly and even in advance of any type of meal that I know usually affects my gut. And sometimes I'll even mix it in with sparkling water and have it stack it with some of my other things I'm doing this year to focus on wellness. Thanks to Armor Colostrum for sponsoring this video. If you want to give them a shot, you can go to tryarmor.com/epic. That's tryarmra.com/EPIC, or use the code EPIC at checkout for 15% off your first order. And now back to the video.
What's red, round, juicy, grows in clusters, and costs $3 to $6 a pound? It is the humble, juicy cherry tomato. What's crazy is that for $3 to $6 a pound, you're not even getting any true tomato flavor. You're just getting a little orb of juice because they're harvesting those tomatoes early and they're not growing varieties that taste good. Now, it does take a decent amount of work to grow a vining or indeterminate style tomato like this. You have to trellis and support it and prune it. But if you don't want all that, you could easily grow a determinate or bush style tomato that just needs a simple stake and sets all of its delicious bounty at once.
If there's one thing I don't get enough of in the garden, it's head, lettuce. If you want to get ahead on your grocery bill, this is the crop. At $4 a head, maybe $5 for 2, Head lettuce is overpriced and you get really bad varieties at the grocery store. It's like romaine, iceberg, that's it. And if you want to pay for Little Gem, you're paying $10 a head because it's called a fancy lettuce. So it couldn't be an easier crop to grow at home. There's 20, 30 varieties you could choose from most seed vendors. I've got a few right here, and it's probably the easiest crop to grow on this list. Lettuce seed in the ground, 35, 40 days. All you really need to do is keep it well watered and not let it get blasted by sun and heat. And you'll have a nice, crispy head of lettuce that you can harvest all at once, or you can harvest around the leaves and you can plant it on succession, maybe a couple heads a week for a consistent supply of pretty pricey greens.
Nobody likes dealing with a leek, but what's even more frustrating is the price of leeks at the grocery store. I personally love leeks, but I've stopped buying them because for $3 to $4 a pound or $2 for a single leek, I'm not feeling it anymore. So I went out, got myself a seed packet, and I'm able to start hundreds of leeks off a single packet. And the best part is, you know that little white part of leeks at the grocery store? It's usually only this big, and we could make it that big. And if you didn't know, the white part of the leek is the sweeter, more tender, delicious part. So if you want to maximize that, all you have to do is dig yourself a nice big hole and put the leek as deep as you possibly can. And every part of it that's buried by soil and not receiving sunlight will turn white and extra delicious.
If it turns you on to light money on fire, walk into a grocery store and buy some herbs. At about $4.40 per ounce, herbs are the biggest ripoff at a grocery store, especially when you consider how easy they are to grow. Rosemary, thyme, oregano, basil, all of the classic Mediterranean herbs can be started from seed, but even if you buy them as a live plant from a nursery for the same price, about $3.99 to $4.99, you'll get a plant that you can not only harvest from throughout the season, but you can also propagate from it. So what you can do is take a plant like this, grab the tip, and snip off a couple of the leaves down here, leaving a little bit of stem. Put this back into the soil or into some water, you'll get some roots coming out, and you can take one plant and multiply it into many, even extending it through your winter months to the next spring.
Here in California, we're well known for growing a lot of expensive specialty greens, but not the kind that you're thinking about. Instead, I'm talking about kale, chard, and everything in between. And you might think it's kind of silly to say that growing kale will save you money, but right here, this is $3 worth of kale that I picked in seconds, and these plants have been growing in my garden for 2 to 3 years. But when it comes to saving money in the garden, one of the favorite things that I like about growing kale and chard is that they continue to produce all year round. So as soon as I remove all these leaves, this will begin producing more. And in a few days, I got another $2 to $3 off the same plant. And now these kales are basically money trees.
You might find it interesting that my next pick is something that is actually quite cheap at the grocery store when it's dried. I'm talking about beans, but I'm specifically talking about green beans. $3 to $5 for maybe a pound or so at the grocery store. But a pound of green beans isn't actually that many green beans. And when there's so many varieties that you can plant from seed, and it's probably one of the easiest crops to plant from seed of all time, it's a crime not to grow them at home. So what I like to do is go with bush beans personally. So this is a Blue Lake pole bean. If you want, you can grow that. You probably have to trellis it up and support it. There's the Blue Lake bush bean, and there's a bunch of other bush beans that you can try. Direct sow, which means put it directly in the garden where you want to plant it, about an inch deep. Wait a couple weeks and it'll pop up. And for extra credit, beans don't need as much nitrogen, one of the major macronutrients that plants need to grow, from the soil, because they can actually synthesize it from the air in partnership with some bacteria. It's a pretty fancy little thing. And so to me, coming out fresh beans, hard to beat, and so prolific, you'll probably grow a double-digit dollar amount of beans this season.
Picture this, you're deep into summer and you've put up your no trespassing sign because your neighbor keeps coming by and leaving baskets of summer squash at your door. But here's the thing, summer squash is actually kind of expensive. I just went to the grocery store and they were selling for $1.50 to $2 per squash, and that's something you could grow every single day. Now I have two varieties here that I truly love to eat, the Emerald Delight, which is absolutely one of my favorite, and the Early Prolific Straight Neck if you want a little bit of yellow. They're big seed, easy to germinate, just put it in the ground. You could even grow it vertically if you want to get creative, but this is a plant that really will just keep producing to the point that you're sick of it, and at that point you can start throwing your money away.
Even if your name isn't Dracula, the prices of this next crop will scare you away at the grocery store. And of course I'm talking about Garlic at about $1 per head for some of the most basic varieties of garlic you could even imagine. Something like California Early. It's garlic, but it doesn't pack as much of a punch as some of the varieties you can grow at home. Here is a 4x8 foot bed full of garlic, enough to last the average person at least 5 to 6 months. In the household that I'm over at Jacques' Garden right now, probably about 2 to 3 months, but that's why you want to grow it at home. It's one of the most versatile crops that you can use in the kitchen. In almost every cuisine around the world, garlic is used. It stores incredibly well once harvested, and although it does take a while to grow, somewhere around 120 up to 180 days for one single head to form, once you plant it, there's not that much that you have to do to keep it growing. So we have a ton of videos on garlic, but it is one of my absolute top picks to grow at home instead of buy at the store.
Something that I've always thought is crazy is that one of the most popular vegetables in the world is actually just an undeveloped flower. And of course, I'm talking about broccoli. This tight little bud of green is an absolutely delicious staple in my household, and it is exactly why I want to grow it at home. And with the way that we're eating broccoli, we're going through one head almost every single day. So that adds up very quickly, which is exactly why I'm growing a wide variety of broccoli. But the craziest thing about broccoli is that the harvest doesn't stop once you collect that main head. If you take a close look at these plants, every single one of them has had the main head removed and is now starting to produce these wonderful side shoots. This will keep happening until the plant basically dies, and you'll end up getting 2, 3, maybe 4 heads worth of broccoli out of each individual plant.
I apologize in advance for the cliche line here, but money does grow on trees. When it comes to growing your own fruit at home versus buying at the grocery store or even buying at the farmer's market, I could go in and get a peach, an apple, citrus, especially when it's out of season or out of location. Imagine going and grabbing some citrus in Buffalo, New York in the winter. That's probably gonna be pretty expensive. So growing it at home, although it is the most complicated of our suggestions so far, it's also by far the most rewarding. This is a Double Delight peach that we've harvested off of for 5 years almost, to the tune of probably over 1,000 peaches over the course of those years. There's no way I'm eating 1,000 peaches, so I turn them into cobblers and I turn them into preserves. I've got an apple, I have 2 pomegranates, a guava, and 15 different types of citrus. We have a ton of guides on how to get fruit trees going. The thing about them is you do have to put that upfront cost in. It might be $50 to $150 to get the tree in, but when you're talking about a couple bucks per fruit and you can get thousands over the course of their life, it's an absolute no-brainer. So if you're inspired to get growing this season, to save some money at the grocery store, check out our all-new line of seeds. It's 40 varieties that are proven to work in your garden, no matter how beginner of a grower that you are. Links in the description for that. And for more guides, check this video out here. Good luck in the garden, my friends, and keep on growing.